The meeting to order, open workshop. It is 5:40. I will take a roll call. Trustee Alonso is here. Trustee Cruden is here. Trustee Desmond Tech, she's stuck in traffic, but will be here. Trustee Finnerty is here. Trustee Munoz is here. Trustee Ryan is here. Trustee Bellato is here. Vice President Wilbeck isn't here yet. President Broderick is here. Superintendent, would you like to go first?
Thank you, Dr. Bailey. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
I attended the Hudson County Superintendent's Joint Roundtable meeting in North Bergen. The guest speakers were Paul Blanchard and Paul Pollack from the NJDOE Office of Evaluation. Topics were the formation surrounding the launch of New Jersey's new principal evaluation instrument. This will be free to all districts in New Jersey and can replace the current Marshall system that we are now using. Additionally, they reviewed the revised uploading of the evaluation data and an introduction to summer workshops. On Wednesday, April 18th, I attended the evening PTA meeting at Mary J. Donahue Community School and served as their guest speaker. Additionally, I attended the Royal Heroes program at Robinson School and served as speaker. I also attended and spoke at the Bayonne High School National Honor Society induction and Hall of Fame induction programs, and I attended the annual Bayonne Holocaust Memorial Observance program at City Hall. Now, as you recall, we targeted the half day prior to spring break to increase attendance and productivity. I completed an analysis of the attendance, and I'm happy to report that the elementary schools demonstrated an increase in attendance from 91.62% last year to 93.02% this year. So the plans that those principals put in worked out very well. Unfortunately, 2 elementary schools and the high school did not show a rise in attendance. I've met individually with those principals to develop attendance improvement plans for next year. As you're aware, we're in the midst of state assessment administration. Week 1 of the 30-day testing window is over, and we are now halfway through our second week. The testing and technology departments have made it a priority to reduce the impact on loss of instructional time. And from my review of the testing, we are doing an excellent job. Dr. Degnan is to be commended for his hard work and will present an update on park testing. Additionally, we will have, as you recall, spoke at 3 different meetings about the elementary school promotion retention policy with regards to mathematics. The curriculum committee has reviewed stakeholder feedback and is prepared to introduce the final version of the promotion retention policy this evening. Dr. Degnan will review the current policy and then present the committee's proposal for September 2018-19. Dr. Degnan?
Thank you, Dr. Wanto, and good evening, trustees. This evening I would like to report to you on 2 areas, of course, PARC and the promotion retention policy for mathematics in grades 4 to 8. The PARC test was first administered in 2015 and replaced the NJ Ask and HESPA test, and it matches the content and skills outlined in the standards that guide instruction in our classrooms and provide valuable information about student learning. The PARC test provides a deeper level information about student progress than the previous tests, which make it a valuable tool to measure student performance. And PARC identifies the areas in each subject where a student needs additional support and where he or she has mastered the content and can be challenged to go deeper into the subject matter. Information that is more useful for parents, teachers, students, and of course, the administration. Just want to remind everybody that a passing score in Algebra 1 and English Language Arts 10 is a requirement for high school graduation. And if anybody read last night, Commissioner Lamont Repollet said in testimony before the State Assembly and Senate Budget Committees that New Jersey will continue the testing for at least another year beyond the spring. So we will have the park in 2019. I'd like to thank Dr. Wanko and, of course, Central Office, and, of course, our members of our leadership team, all the principals that are involved in testing, as well as our technology and assessment offices for providing a quality testing environment for our students. And just to give a little update where we are, we're testing approximately 650 students per day. We're averaging in the high school, there was about 30 absent, and 25 were absent in the elementary schools. So we'll have a makeup session for them. We do have a window to complete those tests. We will reach out to them through guidance counselors and principals. And what is completed so far? So tomorrow we will be completed with English Language Arts 9, 10, and 11 in the high school. So it's about 2,100 students. And we will begin to wrap up English Language Arts and Math for grades 3, 4, and 5. So remember that HESPA was really a short test. It was finished in a week. We have about 7 days per unit, per content area and grade level now that we have to work with. We know about the refusals. We know that there is no opt-out in New Jersey, so I did a little analysis. Right now, refusal letters from parents. Last year at this time, there were 12 letters in the high school. We currently have 3, and 59 in the elementary, and we currently have 17. And as part of Dr. Wanko, when we sat down with the principals, we talked about park participation and making that a goal. There are some parents that still refuse. That's their right, but we do continue to maintain a log. There have been no major internet disruptions. We do have to provide a paper base for our students with respect to home instruction. There are 25 students in the testing zone that need to complete a paper base, and right now we've finished 11, and we're on target to finish that window. There is an opportunity to do the test by computer, but I'm not sure if we're there yet to bring the computer into the home. With respect to large testing sites, this is working well. There's less negative impact on the school day and instruction, and fewer subs are needed because fewer teachers are pulled by administrators. So if you go into some of the larger testing sites like the North and South CAF, we have a test administrator and a proctor, and we have about 100 students, so it's less that we can pull. So we're using the North CAF, the South CAF, the North Gym, South Gym. We closed down the ice rink. This is all planning and logistics. Teachers have been well-trained, and the park process has been successful thus far. Our teachers are cooperative and diligent in reviewing their class rosters and notifying us when changes and updates need to be made. And I'd like to personally thank the technology department for being on hand at all times, and we have not had any major issues thus far. So we're moving along with par. So I guess I'll entertain any questions on the testing now. Great.
Should be the last day.
We still have about 2 more weeks to go. We have to do math now for 9, 10, and 11, and we have to do 6, 7, 8, ELA, and math. So there's 4 units. Now, you can do 2 units in a day. We would just not be able to do 2 units in a day because we would never be able to get to lunch. We'd be putting out the testing tickets, the materials. So, and it's actually better for our students to do 1 90-minute session a day.
When does the math start?
The math will start, I believe, Friday. So, yeah, so tomorrow we'll finish up in ELA, the last day of ELA in the high school, and then we'll start math. But in an elementary, we do it by grade span, 6, 7, and 8. They'll do both English Language Arts and math.
And what happened to the students who had the refusal letters?
They're just allowed to do read on their own, silent reading, or continue to work. But again, that's their
Number is substantially
Oh,
down.
they
Yeah.
are, yeah.
Yes. Now, there are some students, I mean, this has been something that's happened in the state where students go in and they pick and choose the answers. We cannot coax them in any way. We hope that, our teachers have done the best work that they can to prepare them for the test, and we've given them the best consideration, the best testing environment to do their best. But that's,
But Dr. Degnan,
Sure.
Just for the information for the public,
yeah.
if a student chooses not to, let's say student
They
chooses not to,
refuse.
okay. What is the alternative assessment that they would be required to take in order to graduate?
Well, it depends on the graduation class, and right now, it would be, some have alternative assessments, the ACT, the AccuPlacer, the ASVAB test, which is a military battery, the the SAT. But what they've done with the current ninth graders, they pretty much eliminated that and said you must at least, at minimum, sit for those tests that you're eligible for before they even open the alternative test.
Okay.
So you have to sit for it. Now, I don't know if the new commissioner and the new governor is going to change the graduation requirements. I know they're looking at it, and I know it's still in place for this year. We have the appeals process in place. That's been very successful. We sent down our last set of appeals, so any student that did not sit or refuse do have the opportunity to graduate on stage because of the appeals process. Okay. Great. We did work diligently on a regulation for a policy 5410 with respect to promotion and retention. The history of this is in grades 4 to 8 in the elementary school, a student could legitimately fail math every year through grades 4 and 8 and be promoted to the next grade level. So if you fail 2 or more subjects, you would be retained in grade. That's the current status. So the major subjects in grades 4 to 8 are mathematics, science, English language arts, and social studies. So we, as a committee, decided that we needed to focus on mathematics. So going back, the passing score in elementary is 70 or greater, and a failing score is 69 or below. So if a student fails math for the year, the student would be retained. Okay? But we don't want to just retain, we don't want to just put a hammer on a student, we want to be there to support. So what the committee decided, any student that's failing math after the first marking period or first progress report and subsequent progress reports and report card will have the opportunity to attend an AM tutorial session. And we believe the best days would be Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, not to have it on a Monday or Friday. And we would do it for 30 minutes in the morning. We did have a question about pay. We would continue the rate at $20 an hour and the $20 prep time. Okay, so really what you would be getting is an hour and a half a week times 2. Okay, we've done that before. And then we would hope that the additional time that's provided to the students that fall into that 16 and below would be successful. And again, using it as a support system, we know that there are concerns where students cannot make it every day. We talked about that. So we said the school leadership team with the guidance counselor and the math teacher would look at the attendance, and they would be available if there was a waiver required, whether it's medical or an emergency. And we would expect the students to attend about 65% of the time enrolled. So if they were enrolled after the first marking period, the school would have to really take an attendance and manage that those students are attending their sessions. Students that are successful can always exit the program. When we said we decided as a committee it would be 78 or above. Now, if the students were not successful after all the supports that were provided or chose not to go to the morning program, they would be retained. If they choose not to go, they would not have an opportunity to go to summer school. If they did continue to, and they still failed, we would provide a summer school opportunity for them to go to be promoted to the next grade level. So that really talks to the math promotion retention part of this. If I wasn't clear, I definitely can talk about it now if there's any concerns, and the committee can join in with me.
Well, our biggest problem right now, I believe, is we're not that, we're okay almost with the ELA, the literacy. The problem is with the math. And providing the extra support in the mornings is a wonderful, wonderful idea. But it's just for math. It's not going to be afforded for literacy or any other subject area.
So we spoke, and I know President Broderick talked about this for the past 2 years, is to get together like a multiple tiered system of supports that we were trying, and we were playing catch up, and we talked about this, and Trustee Volato brought there's a lot of things that we want to do, and there's going to be a lot of training for the teachers in September, and it's going to be a lot of planning trying to fit it. But we want to put in a phonics program to support our reading program. in K-2. So we.
So we're going to provide an AM tutorial or AM support for also phonics?
No, that would be, we would incorporate that in the regular school day. So that is part of what we want to do, and would have to train as many teachers as we can
That's
for
the
that.
introduction of the new phonics program that the board has been talking about for like the last month, am I right?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. So we'd like to get that in place, so when you say it's just about math, we are looking at the whole learner, especially in your early childhood. We did identify 4 to 8 in math as the beginning of this program. So we also know with the new math program, there will be instructional support and online. Okay, so we would also have that part too.
The other question I have with looking at the policy and regulation, it's possible that we can have a student who's doing fine in literacy, the ELF, and math, but could possibly fail science and social studies. With that child could still be retained.
Yes, yes.
The two
We were
subjects.
keeping, I think we spelled it out very clear,
Yes.
science in the policy. And if we're not clear with anything tonight, I can amend that, but we spelled it out. Math is the golden, but 2 or more can be retained. And I will also point out that we did remove the combined special subject average. Did everybody look at that? Where you take into consideration world language, art, music, technology. That becomes subject in itself, and it's been a little, I guess, hairy, as you could say. It doesn't always happen, but the student can fail English, but then get promoted, or math, because they did well in phys ed, art, music, world language. So those aren't classes that really meet as much as the majors, so we're going to remove that combined special subject
Okay.
average. They'll still get a
That's a
grade.
great idea.
They're still going to get a grade. It's just not going to be a course in of itself, because we really want to focus on, as the committee decided, we want to focus at the 4 core, math, English, science, and social studies.
Thank you.
Yeah, we just thought it would be
irresponsible for us to move a child up the ladder that's failing math, knowing that, how am I, just to use a simple example, if I can't add and subtract, how do I multiply and divide? If I don't, so we can't just keep them going on and say, well, we just failed the one subject. Not if it's that subject, because you need the year before to do that year. So that's how we came up with this plan, and we think it's going to be successful. We're hoping, we think some good things will come from it.
Well, just to add, it's my understanding, especially with the state assessment part, 50% of the tests are word problems. So if you're not literate, if you don't have literacy proficiency and you don't understand the word problem, so we also have to work on the literacy as well as the math. Understanding that,
That's why we're putting in a fundamentals program to do that.
right,
I agree with the literacy piece. It's a target.
Goes hand in
I think we
hand.
wanted to start with the math. We can build on this. We will take the data in through the year. And if the literacy piece is something that we need to add, we can do that. It was great working with the committee to go through the process and look at it, and we can tweak it and say what worked and what didn't work. We're gonna have to now work with the principals. We're going to have to get teachers that are going to have to come in the morning now for those 3 days to make sure that we're monitoring it.
thank you, yes.
I just wanted to say congratulations and thank you to the committee. It's considerable, more than considerable amount of work and thought and energy put into it. I just thought it was fabulous when I read it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So there'll be a vote on that this evening.
All right, if there are no other questions for Dr. Degnan. Regarding finances, our budget review by the county is complete. Under facilities, we experienced a steam leak at Bayonne High School and have an update on the PEEA rooms. Mr. Smith will explain the remainder of the protocol on the budget and provide an update on facilities. Mr. Smith?
Thank you, Dr. Wanko. Good evening, trustees. The budget is on the agenda this evening, ladies and gentlemen, and if you see fit to pass the budget, our next step will be to advertise it as final and complete, and that will start our finances rolling for July 1, 2018. In regards to the budget, as we said the last time we were in this room with the PowerPoint, It was months and months of work. It was learning a new system under Dr. Wanko's leadership with the zero-based budgeting. We met with the true stakeholders, the principals, the directors, who put together their individual budgets. And without the help of Matt and my entire office staff, Laura Zalzanicki, Lori Mariano, and Christine Ellison, I'd like to thank them for all their hard work and everybody in this budget. Dr. Wanko kept us pushing that flywheel, as he said earlier in the year when he made it, he alluded to that, and I think that the end product is something that we can all live with. In regards to the steam leak, over by room 105, from room 105 across the campus and into the tech building, there is a steam pipe. You'll notice that when it snows, the tennis court on that side very rarely accumulates anything because the steam is going from our boilers on 30th Street over to the main building. On Sunday morning, about 3 a.m., it looked like Old Faithful. We popped the leak over by the elevator. Mike Cooper called me, we got the men in, we turned the heat off, and then over the last couple of days, we've been digging it up over on the main building there. We have a company coming in tomorrow. You will see a purchase order in your batch tonight, company coming in who says they can pinpoint the exact portion of the leak. Now, the pipe is a 30-inch main that has a sleeve around it, and within that is the steam goes to one side, and then there's a 4-inch return where the water that was one steam comes back to 30th Street to be reheated and pushed out again. Luckily, we're at the end of heating season, so we've turned everything off. We're hoping that we don't have to do too much digging to rectify the situation. That pipe was put in it's about 35 years old now, so figure 1983, 1984, when we closed that boiler room in the main building and everything was run out of the 30th Street boiler room. So we are on top of it. We did lose a couple of nice Christmas trees that were in the area and some shrubbery, but we will put that back. Also, in terms of facilities, we've toured the district. We've looked at additional rooms if additional funding becomes available for the preschool expansion aid. If we're online to get that, we have 4 rooms that we can go to that are not being utilized this year. We've met with those principals, and if funding becomes available, we will be able to put 4 more classes of preschool, full-day preschool, in those 4 classrooms. So I'm very happy about that, but that funding must become available in order for us to do that. We will continue to run the pre-K that we started in November of this year. We will continue to run that same program with those 5 additional and the 1 paid program at Oresco School. So we'll still be servicing those children, and that registration is coming up very shortly. In fact, in today's community news, I believe there's an advertisement for it so the public will know about it. Trustee Munoz?
Can you share with us what schools those rooms are?
We looked at Mary J. Donahue. We looked at Washington. We looked at Bailey School, which might be a challenge because a restroom for the little ones needs to be within a line of sight. And we also looked at number 3 Robinson School, those 4 schools right now. We think there may be an additional room in the district. Someone may be holding back on us, but we will find it. And if we can, and the funding becomes available, we'll put as many people, children in those seats as we possibly can to, because as Trustee Finnerty alluded to, if they can't read, they can't do the problems. And if we can get them as 3-year-olds, we solve a lot of those problems right there. So we're very happy about that. And that's all I have right now, Dr. Wanko. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Susan. Any questions?
Well, I have a question. It's really not about what you said. It's about these 3 purchase orders. Is now the time we want to talk about?
Well, we can go over them if I don't have them in front. You have them. I
Yeah,
don't.
I'm going to share them with you. I just wasn't sure how it works because it's just for the transportation. Maybe you could just tell me how it's billed.
Can't hear you, Mike.
Oh, I just wanted to know if we prepay them Or
We
they
pay them
actually
monthly.
provide the services first?
We pay them on a monthly basis. These are three transportation, special need transportation out-of-district routes that are going out. So we will pay them on a monthly basis. So they'll submit a voucher, say the route took place over 20 of these days, and we'll pay them accordingly, yes.
All right, yeah, I just
Yeah.
was concerned because we recently had a company
Right.
that
That wasn't picking up the child.
that might have not been doing
Right.
things legitimately.
Right. And that company tonight, you will see that we've rescinded the contracts on that company tonight and awarded them to a much more reliable vendor.
All right, so I was just curious on that process.
Thank you. Recently, we have been making improvements to many areas of our school safety plan, such as the recently installed metal detectors, police officers in the schools, extra administrative coverage in the morning, entry, and also at afternoon dismissal, just to name a few. The district safety team met this past Monday to review our district security and safety plan. Mr. Lopez has spent many hours developing this plan. As many of you are probably aware, the past 2 decades, I have been presenting workshops and even providing expert opinion regarding school safety and protocol. Therefore, I can attest and say without fear of contradiction that the documents prepared by Mr. Lopez and their contents can be considered a best practice for the state. That being said, I am calling on Mr. Lopez to give more details about our plan and explain the positive results of the proactive measures we have put in place since July 1st. Mr. Lopez?
Thank you, Superintendent, and of course, thank you so much for your expertise and leadership through this process. As Doc just stated, this past Monday, we held a district safety team meeting to review our updated school safety and security plan. I'm proud to say that this 120-page document goes well above and beyond the state requirements, includes all 91 elements required by the Department of Education. This is also the first time our plan is in a digital format, which keeps the document live and can be updated at any time. So if the state would send us a change, the Bayonne Police Department, the Fire Department, they would call, or OEM, we could make a change and send that out to an entire staff. We will also be sharing this electronically in a PDF format. Doc Wonko just sent that out to you last Friday in your update in a PDF form. I made a hard copy for you, but our staff will be receiving a PDF. You also see the classroom guides. Those are the green 8x14s. Those will be placed in every one of our classrooms. And as Dr. Wonko stated, we have made many safety updates, some that the public can see and some that we cannot share. But we know what we have been doing this year is working. I'm going to share some numbers with you that we have to report to the state every 6 months. If you remember last year was violence and vandalism. Every 6 months you have to report to the board and report to the state. During last year, 2016-17, period 1, which is from September to December 31st, we had 51 incidents of violence, vandalism, weapons, substance abuse, and HIV. In this second period last year, 2016-17, which is January to June, we had 58 incidents in those same categories. This year, 2017-18, during the first period from September to December, the numbers of our incidents have reduced to 17. So from 51 to 58 this year, we're at 17. And I would just like to thank all of our administrators, teachers, and staff for the tremendous job that they do daily and for your support, because you bringing in Shield 32 Consulting a couple months ago really has helped us out, and your cooperation throughout the year. But we're very proud of those numbers, and we're going to continue to work. I've also sent out a flyer. There's a student copy and then a public copy that you have in front of you. It's all set up. That's on May 22nd. That's for our third annual Job and Career Expo. We'd love to have you join us. Again, this is our third expo, and we're looking forward to another successful event. That's all I have. Yes?
2 questions. One, does every room, whether it's a classroom or otherwise, does every room have some kind of a map where it says you are here, like they do in a hospital?
Yes.
Okay. The second one, I don't know if you can tell me, but a yes answer would make me happy. On the second breakdown on the green sheet, where it says if lockdown is not an option, use something else. Has that been discussed or acted out, or just, you don't, because I don't know that's appropriate to give detail on that one, but
So
are you just leaving it to people to figure out what
No,
that is?
We talked about Alice training. Alice training is becoming very popular. It is run, hide, and fight.
Okay.
We are going to a training, Tim Carey and I, who's here. We are going to be certified instructors. That's May 22nd and 23rd. We did not include that because we have not received the
didn't do that,
training,
yeah.
but we are definitely looking into that. Most districts are now going to some type of hybrid, but right now this definitely meets the DOE requirements, but you have been hearing a lot, and they've, just looking at best practices throughout the state, they are using some type of hybrid with the Alice training built in.
Thank you.
Well,
So what you're saying with regard to active shooter, that the second step, besides notifying the main office, call 911, that is the responsibility of the teacher?
Whoever sees the
Is
shooter
there
first.
Active shooter.
Anyone.
The second one, so that main
Anybody
office,
that
overlays
then you
eyes
do a
on-
911 on your own cell phone?
Anytime that we see a staff member who would think that we have to put the building in lockdown and they had a cell phone, access to a cell phone or a phone, we would have them call 911, yes.
Because there are two situations, the medical emergency as well. I just remember from the past, if a teacher had called 911, it wasn't really considered to be the appropriate action, that it was not up to the teacher to determine to dial a 911.
Yeah, that's
Now,
what-
this is changing it.
It's because of the incident that would be, the, active shooter, violent intruder, that would cause a 911 response, which we would like to notify, police as soon as we can. We would not want to wait and go through a chain of command
Yeah,
for that.
that's what, I think that's probably the better way for me to phrase my question. Teacher would do the 911. Okay, thank you.
This reminds me of in the case of like when you take first aid classes or any of those, first thing you want to do is get help. So as soon as you can get more help, that's the best thing you do. So the 911 call, whether it's your cell phone, whether, I don't care what it is, just get people coming.
Got it, thank you.
I just want to say that my wife is a member of the PTO at Mary J. Donahue. She was actually at the meeting where Dr. Wanko gave his address, and she wanted to say you did a wonderful job, that she thought it was a great meeting. But she did have a question, and it made me think. She actually did say that one of the parents asked the difference, that you did point out the difference between a shelter in place and, lockdown. And some parents didn't know the difference between the two, obviously. And then I guess it's very easy for me to forget that some parents may not know the difference because we deal with education in these terms all the time. Is there any plans to kind of like maybe educate the parents the difference between that sort of thing where, I know especially with social media, kids go on there, oh, we're in lockdown, and they freak out, and there might be a shelter in place because a student is experiencing a medical emergency. It's not maybe a lockdown. Is there any type of...
Trustee, that's a great question.
Yeah.
This plan is only for our staff. Obviously, this guide is confidential, and that's for our staff. But every October, we have School Violence Awareness Week, where all of our schools, the principals, have to present on school safety drills, which they go through each, and they would go over that, and that happens in October.
But I think the trustee is asking now for a parent.
Right.
So perhaps in October as well, we can run a parent evening.
I'm sorry if I misspoke, but yeah, that would be our principals present at a PTO meeting.
Okay.
Oh, okay, oh, great, all right. Yeah, just because, when she asked me that parent asked a question, and I was like, well, yeah, but there's a difference, and I'm thinking, well, you're a teacher, of course you know that, right? Obviously, but to the person outside of the district, they may not know the difference, so something to just think about, I thought.
I know my daughters commented as well and thought it was a great program, and really happy that you took the time to go to the meeting, so.
We're happy to do that. The more information we can provide to make people feel comfortable. Again, our goal is to have a safe and secure environment, but it also has to be warm and welcoming so that
Exactly.
they can do their best.
Absolutely.
Any other questions for Mr. Copeland? Hearing none, that concludes my report, and I turn the meeting over to Dr. Maida.
Folks, just some business to take care of. I put some handouts for you. I'll start with the top one, was an article that was recently in the Jersey Journal with Senate President Stephen Sweeney comments on the Jersey City negotiations and subsequent deal. I thought that was important for you guys to see. Also, there's going to be, on May 18th, there's going to be a blood drive. And the flyer that you have in front of you is the second part of the blood drive. I'll talk about the first part. Bayonne High School and Boy Scout Troop 25 on the 18th is having a blood drive. The blood drive during the day is open to students over the age of 16 that are the right weight and staff. And then from 3 o'clock to 8 o'clock, it'll be open up to the public for regular blood drives. So we're not mixing the public with the students together. And this is all at the ice ring, and I thought you'd like to know that. Today, I got a call from our field service rep from school boards, and I know Mr. Broderick also got an email, but I said I would take the ruler out tonight, but I have to remind Trustee Alonso, Trustee Munoz, and Trustee Villano. Now, obviously, we still have plenty of time. We're way ahead of schedule, but the sooner we get the
Plenty of time, better
superintendent's
get it done
evaluation
tomorrow.
done,
You know what it
the
is?
quicker.
You know what it is? I have so much positive stuff to say, I have to
That's
articulate
great.
it all.
You gotta
That's
get in
what that
there
is.
and,
So full of
only
it,
because
it's
it
not even-
will allow Ms. Friedman to work on what we need to do. And also a reminder, their system is horrible, so you don't wanna go in and do half of
Yeah, I
it
know,
and
I
think
know.
you're gonna go back and finish, because you'll go back and lose it all, so.
I went in, but I couldn't.
So,
I'm
yeah.
not saying how wonderful Mr. Broderick and I are, because we did it.
That's what I was just about to say, that President Broderick and Trustee Cruden have done their homework.
Sure you were.
Thorough and efficient.
Our May board meeting, we have two items at our May board meeting. In the past, we've had a separate program for retirees and teachers of the year. What we're thinking is incorporating that into our monthly May meeting. So that's what we're thinking about doing. We will obviously do a resolution with a commendation for our, not only our teachers of the year, but our retirees, and I have a list, I believe it's about 35 people in the past year. Obviously, there's going to be at our public meeting, my thought is maybe we would save the two commendations to the end of the meeting, and possibly you want to do something with whatever retirees or teacher of the years that might show up, or we just do it during the regular program. We don't have to decide that this minute, but I just want you to think about it, and before we leave tonight, maybe we can kick around some ideas on what we'd like to do.
Nothing else, we put a little committee together.
Couple of people and see what we
Well,
want to do.
we've got to
So
do
we
it
should do
quick
something.
because it's the May meeting, so
We're
we've got to.
fast people, we'll
I
be
know.
fine.
This came up at a previous finance committee meeting, and I went and did the research. The question came up about a public question on the ballot and what time of year. So what I was able to find out was that this year, during the November election cycle, the state will have a question on Career and Technical Education and School Security Bond Act. It'll be somewhere between $500,000 and $750,000, and it's going to be a yes/no question. In regards to our situation, and it got brought up at finance on the possibility of school construction and DMR with our long-term plan, I was a little off. At the meeting, I said that a private election would cost $86,000. I took that from West New York. West New York is a third of our size. So for us to do a special election, it would be over $200,000.
That's what I said.
So it makes sense, if we are to go to a question, we would do it during the November election,
Exactly.
which means we would have to submit the public questions to the supervisor of elections by September 7th. Okay, so that's the key timeline, September 7th, if we plan on going in that direction. And I'm sure that'll be a discussion at the finance meeting at the next meeting. Okay, I will go on to communications with our agenda. I'm going to give the board a moment. A question came up on one of our communications. I don't want to say it outside, but obviously if you look at your agendas, what I did, if you go to page 3, non-consent, I moved one of the communications in question to non-consent. Okay? So that's the first part of communications. The second part is, and I handed it out, we got a resignation in today, so I was asked to put it on, so it's not on your agendas. Michael Bisiadis is resigning, so I handed out his actual letter to you, but it's not in your packets. So what we'll do, well, when we discuss this inside, you'll tell me what to do when it comes to communications. We'll move on to curriculum. Curriculum committee met. They went through resolutions A1 to A6. I will ask you, there are a few new resolutions. We'll start with A7. Just give me 1 second. It's a staff for a workshop, and Allison Sharkey, a school social worker, is going down to the conference of National Association of Social Workers, April 30th and May 1st, no cost to the district. A8 is new, and you'll see 4 staff members. The College of New Jersey, there's a registration cost of $103 coming out of special services, and it's a dyslexia symposium. A9 was Wilson Language, which was a contract with them, and it is, you'll see a bunch of dates from May and June, with a 7th date to be added. It's leadership training for our teachers in grades K1 and 2, the Wilson Language training.
Excuse me, Dr. Deng, this goes along with the new foundations program that we're introducing.
It's a Wilson
So it's for
reading
teacher
program.
training.
Teacher training and to bring the principals up to speed. We just
Okay,
have-
thank you.
As I spoke at the curriculum committee, it's going to be planning on how to implement and finding the days to do this now. So we have some tentative dates that we locked in and also their availability.
A10 is a submission of an updated preschool education expansion plan. And then obviously A11, Dr. Degnan spoke about that during his presentation, and there's a resolution that'll go along with the policy change. So that is the curriculum instruction and policy. It was moved by trustee Cruden, and it was seconded by trustee Bellato at the committee meeting. So if there's not any questions, I'll move on to finance. Same thing, finance committee met. All the resolutions, B1 to B11, were handled at the committee meeting. I'll ask you to turn to B12 and 13, which are new. And B12, JVS Metro West, it's an agreement with them. It's to perform a short-term vocational evaluation for a classified student at Bayonne High School. And it's a cost of $900, attached fee schedule, and it is to be paid through district funds.
I was just thinking.
B13, If you remember at the previous meeting, we had had bids, award of bids, and there was a Robinson School roof replacement. Well, what happened was the vendor that was awarded the contract basically miscalculated their bid and asked to be removed. And that was accepted, so then we're going to the second lowest bid, and that would be Pravco. So that's what this is. So it's rescinding the March 23rd action, and obviously we're award the roof contract to Pravco. And that's the finance, and that was moved by trustee Desmond, and it was seconded by trustee Alonso. Which will move us to personnel. Going to ask you to turn C1. Now, Rice notices always get sent out. And I received a response back, and this person asked that any discussions on the resolution that they're involved with be done in public. So I'm going to ask you to turn to C1, and it just involves one staff member, next to the last, Paula Mundell, teacher aide, granted a family leave of absence without pay from May 18th, 2018 to October 10th, 2018. So I have to do that outside, and all the rest I'll do inside. See, and if we're going to discuss it, we have to do it outside. It's pretty, there is a straightforward, depends what.
I'd just be surprised to discuss it.
Yeah, I don't
Okay.
think there's anything to discuss.
Okay.
Yeah, it's, sometimes people get Rice notices, and
And they
I
get
always say to
worried.
people, if you get
They
it in
get
an
worried.
email, it's not a bad thing, but sometimes some people react and think something negative is gonna happen,
Okay.
so. I mean, we know it's normal, but
Okay.
obviously the staff member didn't, so really, I mean, it's pretty straightforward.
But I think the board needs to know it's satisfied the statutory criteria for the leave.
You wanna repeat that, Bob?
Yeah, I mean, every time the board reviews these, the question the board always has for me, does it satisfy the statutory
Exactly.
criteria as to whether it should be granted or not? And this, in fact, does. So,
C2 is for inside. C3 to C9 were all done at committee meeting, and you've had those resolutions. C10, C11, C12, C13, we all have to do inside. Okay, so we'll do those inside. But the personnel was moved by Vice President Wilback and seconded by Trustee Finnerty. I'll only ask somebody to jump in if Vice President Wilback doesn't get here in time. At this time, I only have one other resolution for outside, non-consent. It is the approval and adoption of the budget. I'll turn it over to Mr. Smith, unless there's a question ahead of time. No, Mr. Smith?
As I said previously tonight, we're going to look at the budget. We advertised, it was in the Jersey Journal this past Friday. We met our obligation there. It's been approved at the county level by Melissa Pierce, the County Executive Superintendent of Schools. If you see fit to pass the budget tonight, we will then advertise the final adopted budget, and then we can move forward with it. We did do the PowerPoint presentation. I have copies of it here if you want to go through them. I have them at hand for the open public meeting, so you can refresh yourselves. We're looking at a 2.87% increase in the local tax levy. That's total, and we are quite confident that this budget will get us through fiscal 19, which we will be entering on July 1. If you have any questions about any items on the budget, Matt and myself will gladly take them, and we can move right here. Dr. Maida, there are user-friendly budgets for the public and a copy of the PowerPoint that we went through at the special meeting a couple weeks ago.
I would just like you, one of you, to reiterate that the 2.87 is not a tax levy on top of, it is part of whatever the tax levy may turn out to be at the city. It's 2.87 increase
For the Board of Ed,
Board of Ed.
for the Board of Ed, which
The other
is,
thing is the equivalent in dollar amount. If you would once again repeat what that is per annum or quarter.
I think I had that in the PowerPoint. A second. It's in here somewhere. Double-sided.
While Mr. Smith is looking for that one item I left off, we are doing a commendation tonight. It's Mr. Wexler's Bayonne High School Model UN. He's coming
Outstanding.
along with a group of students, and they'll be here tonight.
Didn't Governor Murphy's wife recognize
Yes.
him? Did some kind of a phone call I read?
Yes.
Governor Murphy's wife?
That's awesome.
Wasn't that cool?
That is awesome.
That was very good.
Outstanding.
We
Yeah,
have to,
On an assessed valuation of $125,170, which is the average amount of a dwelling in Bayonne, the total tax cost increase for the year would be $157.71. And on an assessed valuation of $175,000, it would equate to a raise of $220.50.
That can't be right.
that's,
It's more for a less.
it's,
151,
no, that's why I said the Board of Ed component, because that would be, on your table, it is less what the increase is regardless of what we do. The difference between putting our increase in there and what was already going to be an increase at the city, which I think was $174 or something, it's like a $50.
The 6 months from last year would
Yes.
automatically be in there.
Yes.
yeah, that was $102. So the difference between them is about, on a dwelling of $125,000, it's about $55.
That's the number.
And on the other one, it's about $79.
That's the number. Thank you.
That's what you were looking for. Okay.
Thank you.
And that's $80 a year.
For the year.
Right.
Yeah, right.
So divided by month, it's $6.67 a month extra in the tax levy
From the Board of Ed, right.
from the Board of Ed.
Right.
Okay, right.
Mr. Smith, I have one question on a purchase order. With regard to inline, there are a number of invoices here that amount to, I don't know, about 18,000. It seems to me like they're like regular, like maintenance checks.
We have a comprehensive maintenance plan with them,
Yeah.
and that's where we're drawing that from.
Oh, you're
We
drawing
do,
that.
we do budget, that's a line item in the budget. I believe it's $186,000 that we set aside for the year. Then they go in, they do the comprehensive maintenance, the preventative maintenance, so we don't get these
Right, so
big
this
bills.
is not in addition
No,
to?
no.
This is what we're
When we get in
drawing out,
addition,
okay.
anything that's large, over $3,500, what I normally would do is bring it to the finance committee and have them, let them know ahead of time that something major happened with a boiler or something of that effect, and that get the okay to do
So
that.
this is just part of what you're drawing from?
Right.
It's not in addition to?
Right.
Okay, got it, thank you.
going back to D1, that was moved by trustee Desmond, and the budget was seconded by trustee Munoz. Okay. That is all I have for outside. So we will adjourn to a closed session for legal, personnel, negotiation items. It is 6:35.